All right, welcome back to DBTalks Football Podcast. Today we're going to be covering the Gameweek 23 of the Premier League and the major fixtures that happened this week, including the biggest game, Manchester United versus Arsenal, where United pulled up the biggest comeback we've seen, maybe, and a big shock again. Carrick back-to-back wins against City and Arsenal. Could he be the next manager for United to have a real good stint at United? And also Arsenal getting their first big loss, conceding 3 goals since I think it's been a couple of years. I think 2023 was the last time they conceded 3 goals in a match. So crazy game from United. And at this moment, Arsenal are still top of the Premier League at 50 points, and United are currently fifth, I think, on 35 points. But yeah, it's really close. The title race is heating up. Oh, sorry, United's at 38 points at the moment, and they're at fourth. But yeah, the title race is really heating up, and it feels like any team, if they're not consistent enough, they could easily drop positions in the table. But yeah, our United fan Brajesh, what was your thoughts on this game going into? I know you predicted the win, but did you actually expect to pull this off?
Okay, so yeah, I'll talk about from the United perspective. So, yeah, I did predict United to win, and yeah, I actually did believe that United would win the game. Coming off even the City win, I think United looked a lot better, and we kind of mentioned before a bit how United were already knocked out of the two trophy the cup tournament. So United have and not in Europe either. So United have a lot of rest in between the Prem games, so they have that kind of advantage there. But going in the game, I think even Arsenal in the league kind of struggled. So I didn't expect anything huge from Arsenal. Honestly, I think just looking at United, I think United have a lot of good players that can, I guess do well against teams like Arsenal. For example, I think Bruno, he's a good enough player where he can control the midfield against even someone like Zubimendi or Rice or Odegaard. And I think United also have players like Mbeumo, who he was coming off a pretty good or a decent AFCON tournament, and then when he came back, he scored a goal versus City. I thought Mbeumo, and in the first game versus Arsenal at the first game in the Prem, the first game week, Mbeumo had a pretty strong performance against Arsenal, so I thought he would have been very threatening. So yeah, I thought Mbeumo, going in the game, I thought Mbeumo would have been key as well. And with the new system with Carrick in charge, I think also a lot of players play more to their strengths. Like for example, Ahmad, who playing as a winger, he's much better there. He's a lot more threatening as he was as a wing back, because you have to do defensive shifts, but now he's focused on attacking, and he's such a good player. So yeah, I thought Ahmad would have been super good as well and super key for the game. And I guess the only thing I was worried about was Arsenal and how good they are at set pieces and corners, because a lot of the time they're just very good at scoring those types of things, and United aren't really good at defending set pieces like corner kicks, and United give away a lot of corners as well. So I think if anything, that was the main scary part, because I think it would have been a lot difficult for United to defend Arsenal. Even I mentioned the first game that United played Arsenal in the first game week, Arsenal won 1-0, and the only goal he scored was a set piece that Calafiori scored. It was a corner kick. So yeah, I just think really that was the only way I thought Arsenal would have won the game. I think otherwise, in recent times, the recent games that United has played Arsenal, I think United usually outplayed Arsenal. So I thought United would they put a strong performance in. And again, looking at the momentum, after the City game, I think that gave so much confidence, because putting up that performance against such a great team, a title contending team like City, who have a lot of good players and they have a very good manager, Pep. I think that just gave so much confidence going to Arsenal, and kind of gave a signal that United aren't scared of any team, and they can try to put a decent performance against any team. So yeah, I thought the game with Arsenal today, I thought it actually went pretty well. So I think United kind of proved that they can face any Prem team.
Yeah, the first fixture in the Premier League where United lost 1-0, there's a lot of talk about how honestly it was undeserved, and honestly a lot of United fans were saying that they should have won in that game. But again, coming into the Emirates, I felt like it was not gonna be a good fixture for United, because even though Carrick had that big performance against City, it just felt like coming into Arsenal, one of the best teams in the world right now, and they're always defensively solid. It just doesn't feel like they were gonna win or even score 3 goals, which is just honestly shocking to me. But again, I just feels like Carrick has done such a good job. Really props to him. Having your first 2 games being City and Arsenal and winning both of them is actually really shocking. And he's doing a really good job. And I've seen a lot of United fans even scrutinize Amram even more because he was benching players like Minu and starting players like Ugarte. But yeah, I mean, just really, really shocking. But I mean, looking at that first half, I think it was really chaotic. A lot of players, I think there was a lot of chances being made from both sides, and it felt like the game was going to be end to end. Like United were not backing off, and I feel like they were again going at Arsenal. And I've seen this Mbeumo perform. I mean, Mbeumo kind of experiment as striker. I think it's kind of working because he's one of those players that kind of like likes to run through past defenses, and he tries to like get behind the line. And I feel like as a runner, he's one of the best players for United. And obviously having Ahmad and Mbeumo, they both like to play in the right wing position. So I think fitting them both in, like with Mbeumo at striker, is kind of smart to do from Carrick. And also Dorgu, I mean, I don't know what's like possessed him to become so good. He's been dropping crazy performances in the most recent weeks. And again, this goal today, I mean, what a goal, what a banger from him. But we'll talk about that a bit later. But again, I mean, the lineup from United, I think, was pretty strong. I think Carrick set them up to do really well. But let's go to that first half. I mean, that first goal from Arsenal. Again, it felt like another set piece. From open play, I don't feel like they're really good at all. I feel like they really struggle to create things from open play, especially like when they have a player like Gyökeres starting. Even though he didn't start this game, it just feels like from open play, Arsenal really struggle to create goals. But again, a set piece chance, and whenever you give Arsenal a set piece, there's a high chance that they score. And again, I feel like a really scramble goal. I feel like it was supposed to be a Timber goal, but I don't know how, like, it just wasn't. It was a Martinez own goal. I feel like it was just an unlucky goal because it kind of ricocheted off a couple players and stuff like that. But yeah, Rajesh, what were your thoughts on that first Arsenal goal?
Yeah, I think honestly, like going in the game, I actually expected Arsenal to score first because I feel like all the time Arsenal just scored first against United, and yeah, I wasn't surprised. But after, I mean, it was a set piece, of course. I think the thing about Arsenal that I think United's like one of the biggest United weaknesses are set pieces, and Arsenal's biggest strength is a weak set piece. So I feel like that like, with those two together, it's kind of like bound for Arsenal to score the goal, like set piece goal. And like I said before, with the first game or the first game week in the Prem when Arsenal faced United, the only Arsenal goal was the set piece, and they won off that. So yeah, I just think it's sad to see, and even the other goal that Arsenal scored today that we'll talk about later, it was also a set piece. So I don't know. I just feel like you said with open play, I don't think Arsenal were that strong in open play. Usually I think United play much better than Arsenal when they face each other in open play. Like I said before in the recent games, I see United outplaying Arsenal. I think United play much better, but yeah, I guess with the first goal, it was kind of sad to see. I kind of expected it though, but I had a feeling that United was a comeback in a way because I've seen before that United, even after conceding against Arsenal, they usually put up another strong performance. And in the first time United played, it was kind of hard to get that goal. I think Arsenal were much better defensively, but I think in the first half, after that goal, we saw that there was actually a mistake by Zubimendi where our Mbeumo was able to kind of exploit that bad error from Zubimendi to get the goal, to go past Raya. So yeah, I feel like this game specifically, United were much more stronger and they were able to find the chances to get the goal. So yeah, I think getting the equalizer was super important. Coming off ending the half in an equal position, I think that was very good because again, it for United it's at the Emirates, so it's not an easy stadium to play against. Arsenal have a pretty strong home crowd, so I think getting a 1-1 result going into the second half it was probably United's best possibility, because I think it gave United more chance to reset and reconfigure and find a way to just end the game off.
Yeah, I mean, after conceding that first goal, it felt like at that point, especially away to Arsenal, it felt like United would kind of lose momentum, kind of fall off. And again, we've seen Arsenal really get that first goal and then kind of control the game fully, and then later they get another either set piece goal or some sort of goal, and they kind of just kill the game off. But it felt like credit to United, they didn't let go, they didn't panic, and it felt like again Bruno Fernandes had a couple chances to equalize, but he was kind of denied, and I feel like he could have done a bit better for those chances. But I mean, again, having a defense like Arsenal against them, having a player like Saliba and Gabriel Anya at all times is kind of hard to score. But again, credit to them, they didn't give up. In that first United goal, again, big error from Martin Zubimendi. I mean, there's been a lot of praise for him. I do feel like he's been pretty good this season, but again, a big mistake from him. And obviously, Mbeumo kind of pounced on the air, and he had a good touch, and we've seen him be a really good finisher for United this season. And it feels like he's one of the main goal scoring outlets for United at all times. And again, his 50th Premier League goal and in his whole career. So I mean, what a time to reach that milestone. But yeah, I mean, he scored against Arsenal, Liverpool, and City this season. So he's becoming a big game player for United, and I feel like he can make that difference whenever United really needs him. Um, and again, just before the halftime break, Mbeumo again nearly put United ahead with a lob, but again that didn't really work out. But I mean, going into halftime 1-1, I mean that's really not a bad result away at the Emirates, and I felt like you didn't really expect that from United, even though like a lot of people kind of thought the City game was kind of a bit of a fluke from Carrick and the team. I mean, you didn't really expect United to come back and actually win this game, but I mean, going into that second half. Um, it just felt like again United had a lot of like chances and they could have really scored a lot of goals. But early in that second half, I mean that Dorgu goal again, what a screamer from him. He had that 1-2 kind of with Bruno Fernandes, and then Bruno gets the assist. But again, that volley kind of finish in the top left corner off the crossbar as well. I mean, he's really turning into a great outlets for scoring. At least I don't know how these people are comparing him to like an early Bale, where Bale started off as a left back and transitioned over to right winger. But again, I don't really think he's that type of player, like that caliber. But I mean, he's doing really well in recent form for United, so credit to him. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that? Like going to that second half and that first Dorgu goal?
Yeah, that Dorgu goal was honestly so insane. I mean, I saw the Lamine Yamal goal and I was so impressed by that, and then going and seeing the Dorgu goal, it was a day of like a lot of great goals today, I guess. And yeah, I just had my hands on my head because I was in shock on the goal. It was such a great shot from Dorgu. I mean, the 1-2 with Bruno is good, and then Dorgu able to find that shot, and the way he shot it and it hit the top of the crossbar and went in, it was unsavable, honestly. And yeah, it was such a great shot from Dorgu, and that goal gave so much momentum to United and so much confidence because United were then leading. And yeah, like I said with Dorgu, I think Dorgu recently, when he's been playing as a left winger and like that kind of like more attacking, he's been getting some good chances. He's gotten some assists and he got some goals in recent form. So I don't think he's been very valuable in in that position. But yeah, just that goal overall, I think, yeah, like I said, it put United ahead, and I don't know, I think it just gave United more confidence to like kind of giving hope to the fans that United can actually win this game and it's possible. And yeah, it's just a huge goal, and it was a very good way to get the lead with that finish.
Yeah, and again with Dorgu, it feels like in recent form he's stolen Cunha's chain at left winger, and it feels like he's been that main outlet at left winger for Carrick at least. And again, I mean Cunha came off the bench and he did score a banger, but we'll talk about that a bit later. But after that goal, I feel like the main thing for United to do was hold out for that lead, because we do know that at that point, again, the Arsenal fans are going to be really mad. The atmosphere is going to be really poor. I mean, really like heated in the stadium, and the main thing for Arsenal was that what they were going to do is going to control possession and get as many corner set pieces and stuff like that as they could score. And again, I feel like when it got to like that 70th, 80th minute, it felt like the main thing for United to do was just clear the ball whenever they got a chance and kind of just defend with everyone behind the ball. But again, I think the main thing for Carrick, like he was talking about, like the main thing for him to do was kind of silence the crowd and just stay persistent and not let a lot of the Arsenal players do anything. And we saw Arteta also make a lot of changes. He made like 4 changes at once. He brought on Gyökeres, Ben White, Eze, who I mean this season he's been really poor, apart from the Spurs game, and also Marino, who also made a difference. But again, it just showed the desperation from Arteta. He knew that he needed something different from his team, and it felt like the players that were starting on the pitch, they weren't doing enough, at least. And again, Arsenal continued to struggle to create like clear-cut chances, and United were trying to defend as much as they could. Credit to Harry Maguire and Martinez at defense. But again, Casemiro also, he's been key for United's defense. And Casemiro, he also announced that he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. So there's a lot of emotion behind him as well. And I think United fans really respect him at the moment. So again, yeah, the final 10 minutes, Arsenal kept pushing. They're creating a lot of pressure, and we saw that Bukayo Saka's shot also get saved by Lamens near his near post. And again, there was that corner, and even before that corner, I was thinking like, you know, I was thinking like Arsenal gonna score from this because we've seen how, I mean, easy they can score from corners, and again, you know, a lot of chaos in the box. I feel like Lamens could have cleared that better, but we've seen how like Arsenal crowd the goalkeeper to try to create chaos, and again, just bouncing out in the box. And Marino, we've seen him be like in such good positions. He even play like striker for Arsenal because he's good at positioning, so he's in that right position to score, and he gets that goal in the net. And again, 2-2, the Emirates Stadium erupted. One of our Arsenal fans, he was like, you know, at this point, the game's not going to end in a draw. We're going to see a win or someone lose this game. So, I mean, there was a lot of hype after that second goal. But yeah, what were your thoughts for that second goal?
Yeah, I had a similar reaction to you where when they were taking the corner, Arsenal, I actually had a feeling that they would actually score from it because, you know, there was a few times before where the Arsenal were very close at getting the off a corner kick, but then you never were able to clear the ball away. But, you know, in this case, Arsenal actually did score. You know, United, like they were close to scoring. The United made a small clearance, but then it went right to Marino's feet, and then he shot it, and it just went into the net. And yeah, I mean that was kind of disappointing. And like I said, it's kind of expected because Arsenal has this routine at corner kicks that honestly feels kind of unstoppable for certain teams to really, you know, defend. I think it's kind of hard to. So yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of disgusting to see like Arsenal kind of play that way where they only rely on corner kicks and like, that's their main way of scoring. I feel like that's such an anti-football way of like approach. You know, I feel like the best teams that we've seen in the history of football, they don't play like that at all. They're much better in open play and they play much better football. And yeah, I just think it was kind of disappointing seeing the way Arsenal were kind of getting bailed out by the corner kicks and this routine. And a lot of the Arsenal fans actually praising like how they're so good at corner kicks and that's the way to win the games. They call themselves set piece FC. I feel like I don't like that approach of, you know, the way the team they do it, where, you know, they kind of flex that they're so good at free corner kicks, but you know at the same time, like in the open play they aren't really as good, and I felt like United were much better in the open play. So yeah, I feel like at that point I think United definitely deserved the win more, and I was really hoping for United to get the, you know, the winning goal. So I had belief too that United would get it. I was thinking, you know, something could happen with, you know, Bruno and Cunha. Maybe they can find a way to get the goal. So yeah, I again like when they scored that corner kick, I was actually honestly kind of devastated as well because it was like you know, the closing minutes. So it was kind of for part of me, it was kind of hard to see another goal happen. But at the same time, I was like, United can probably get the finishing goal because throughout the season, something I noticed is that United are actually very good at getting your last minute goals. We've seen it on a couple occasions. Off the top of my head, I can think about Liverpool and Spurs, where United have gone the goal at the last minute. So you know, I just had a feeling that United could actually do it.
Yeah, and again, I also predicted like United to win this game beforehand, and I felt like honestly, I don't really like Arsenal because it's not like a team thing. I just don't respect like the way they play football. As you mentioned, like they really rely on set pieces, and the way they play football is just not like my preference. And yeah, I just really like wanted United to win this game because it would bring a lot of like competition to the actual league title, and it felt like, you know, now they're only 4 points ahead of City and Villa, so it does bring a lot of like chaos into the league, and hopefully if they start to drop more points. I mean, Arsenal's last three fixtures, a draw, and then a loss. So again, if they keep dropping points, you never know what could happen. And again, honestly, when they scored that second goal, I felt like either at that point they were going to win the game or it was just going to be a draw because both sides were kind of, you know, defending really well. But again, we're going to talk about that Cunha goal right in the 86th minute. Again, what a banger. I mean, he came off the bench, you know, there's been a lot of criticism about him not being, you know, a starter, him being out of form and not doing enough for United. But again, he's one of those players that has that talent to come on and make a difference. And, you know, he came on and made that big difference. A great winner. I mean, what a goal from him. And, you know, he picked up the ball, I think it was like 25 yards out, took a touch, and then another, like a beautiful curler into the bottom corner. And Riley could not save that goal. And again, at that point, it was 3-2 to United, a crazy game. And a lot of Arsenal fans were thinking, could they lose this game like for real at home, and could United get the revenge for the earlier game in the season. But I mean, yeah, at this point, it felt like at this point, we're really gonna dig in and kind of try to defend as much as possible. We saw some subs made, like Mazraoui came on to give more defensive solidity, and I think Madueke also came on for Arsenal today in the game, but he didn't really make a difference. He kind of dribbled off the pitch a couple of times, so frustrating for him and Arsenal in general. But I think, yeah, a really, really big win for United. I mean, at that point when the final whistle blew, I saw a lot of United fans, celebrating, especially Carrick. I mean, what a job he's done since coming back. His first two games winning against City and Arsenal, probably the hardest teams to face in the Premier League, and he's done really, really well to win both those games. And yeah, I mean, just a dream start for United and Carrick, and I feel like going forward, there's going to be they could actually like contend for like a top three position, or if they do like really really well, they could even contend for like the Premier League itself. But I doubt that's going to happen because Arsenal has just been too consistent. But hopefully, I do predict like either City, Villa, or United win the league. I don't really want Arsenal to win the league, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that final goal projection, the overall game?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, the Cunha goal, it was honestly an insane goal. I mean, the way he shot from that distance with that shot power right past Raya and Gabriel was honestly so amazing. Like just seeing the seeing the ball going back to the net was just it was such a great feeling just to see that goal. It was like gave United the lead, and I thought at that point the game was kind of over. I didn't really think Arsenal would do much, and yeah, that kind of happened. Arsenal didn't really do much. I mean, the last chance, Gyökeres had a small chance where he could have he had a one-on-one chance with Lammens, but then I shot it weird, and it was like a clearance almost. So yeah, I think that goal was so amazing, super crucial. I mean, getting the win over Arsenal is such a huge win. I mean, Arsenal, again, like I said, are a tough opponent. They're first in the Prem. They're rivals to United. So yeah, getting the win is just super. It's a great feeling, and it was such an intense game, and this is definitely one of the more like iconic United Arsenal games in recent history because it's like a back and forth kind of. So yeah, and like such iconic goals. I mean, that Cunha goal again, like I think is insane. You can even argue it's better than the Dorgu goal because just the distance and the curve, actually like a pretty good curve on it past Gabriel and Raya. And it's a game winner too. So yeah, I just think that was insane from Cunha.
Yeah, and again, this win at the Emirates, it felt like a really, really good win for United, and I feel like going forward is gonna give them a lot of momentum going forward, especially with players like Bruno and Mbeumo and Cunha and stuff like that. But again, I feel like my main players for this game, I feel like Mbeumo has to be given a shot because honestly, parallel to another team, I feel like he's like the Rafinha for Barca. I feel like for United, like he's one of those goal scorers that consistently scores, and even though he doesn't have a really really good game, he ends up scoring. He's always clinical most of the time, and he's also a big game player. So I mean, it just shows exactly why United signed him, and it feels like he's making that big difference for United at the moment. Also Dorgu as well, that goal, another like crazy technique and power, and I feel like he's also showing like he belongs to United at this moment. And even though he doesn't really fit a left back because he's not really like defensive minded as much, I feel like he's a really attacking left back, and he was kind of signed for Amram's system where he kind of plays like left mid almost at times. So I mean, let's see how he fits into Carrick's system, because at left wing, having a player like Cunha on the bench at all times, I don't think that's going to be the solution. So we're going to see what happens with Dorgu. I mean, he did get injured, he got subbed up in the game, but I do feel like he could be a potential starter for Carrick's system. And again, another Cunha, again, credit to him. I feel like that goal was an insane moment, crazy talent from him, and the finish was just classy from him. And also Bruno, I think Bruno was pretty decent. I think again, he missed those early like few chances early in the game, but again, I don't think he did like too much like his best level in this game. But I do think like he was one of the best midfielders on the pitch at that on this game. I think he was better than like Zubimendi, obviously, who made that mistake. Odegaard, again, there was that poll on Twitter or something where I think 6% of people voted Odegaard over Bruno, so maybe get them mentally checked or something. But again, yeah, Bruno was just showing how good he can be, and also Mino, credit to Mino. I think again he's showing that under Amram, like the times he was benched, it was just wrong. I feel like He deserves to be starting for United and doing really well. And also Lammers, I think Lammers also made a couple of really good saves, so credit to him as well. But yeah, what were your takes on that?
With the game overall, yeah, I felt like it was a pretty good, solid performance from United. I mean, like kind of we said, recently with United, there's been a lot of like, changes, like the Amram sack, and there's so much like questions on like the formation and who will play, who will start, and yeah, I think it's again like the win against Arsenal is huge, and yeah, I mean it's strong, and United are fourth currently, and United want to push for the fourth position against the UCL. So yeah, again, big win, big. I think Carrick has been very impressive so far with these two games. So yeah, and the performance I think was pretty solid. You kind of said it where yeah, I think Bruno's good. I think Dorgu got a like that goal is definitely huge. And I think he had some good moments as well. The Mbeumo goal obviously was crucial, and Cunha coming off the bench, I think had a pretty good cameo. So yeah, I think it was a good performance. I think I think the players left all they had on the pitch, and it was a great win. So yeah, I honestly don't have too much to say. I just think I think United fans can't get their hope up yet because I've seen other past managers at United like do well in the big games, but then somehow drop points in like games that seem easier, and it then like just leads to more inconsistency. So I feel with Carrick, there should be more time given to see if he's really proven to be like a manager for United. So yeah, Fulham's next, so we'll see what happens with that because Fulham are in good form. Fulham just beat Liverpool this week, and they're like seventh right now, even though they could drop to eighth if Everton win the game tomorrow. So I mean that would also be a pretty huge game, honestly.
Yeah, we've known United to be like a really big game team, and we've seen like even in the past under Amram as well, like getting big results against teams like City and stuff. But yeah, I do feel like it's gonna be interesting to see how Carrick deals with the main issue, which is beating the small teams. I feel like United really drop points, in silly ways against the smaller teams, and that's why like they do poorly in the league. But I feel like Carrick has really made a difference, and it's gonna be encouraging to see if United can get like a final potential manager to replace like the last few seasons where it's been in and outs consistently with the manager, and there's been disputes between like who should stay in and who should go. But yeah, let's see what happens with the United situation. I feel like the overall result from this game, obviously as we mentioned, like Arsenal's lead in the league is cut down to 4 points only, and it's going to be interesting to see how the title race heats up. And I feel like a team like City really has to get into consistent form, because we've seen them like drop really really silly points, and I think their win against Wolves was a good sign. But again, that's the bottom of the league, so hopefully they start to be more consistent and catch up to Arsenal. But let's move on to another game in the Premier League this week. We're going to move on to Chelsea versus Crystal Palace, and you have Haytham, our Chelsea representative, joining us for this. So I mean, going to this game, obviously there was a lot of chaos between in the Palace I guess whole situation. We've seen Glazer and Boomerang to leave because yeah, there's issues with he was forced to sell Gahey, and he's not being really backed by the board, and also Mateta's been rumored to also leave to Juventus or something like that. So I mean, yeah, I mean there's been a lot of chaos at Palace, and I feel like I did predict Chelsea to get a pretty good win in this game because Palace have been struggling, and we've also seen a player like Munoz just come back from injury, so he's also one of like the key players for Palace. But I think again, yeah, really good win for Chelsea. I feel like they've been really inconsistent, but I think they are starting to actually pick up form under Rezinier, and hopefully, I mean, they could contend for like a top 5 position. But yeah, Haytham, what are your thoughts on this game going into it?
Yeah, not one of our best games, honestly, like first half wise. I think right after the start, we already saw Badia shooting. I think it was Lamine Yamal dribbling through like 3 players, forcing a really horrible mistake, and Sanchez having to make a world-class save. And then it kept going like that, where we were just like doing a small like pass back. Like basically we were doing rondo from the back. We weren't really like progressing the wall enough. We weren't really doing that well for the first half. And then something clicked. We ended up getting a goal. I believe it was Esteban. It was that pass. Who made the pass? But oh no, sorry. Yeah, it was it was off a counter, a mistake by Mitchell, because instead of doing those progressive passes from the back, Chelsea ended up doing some high press, and Esteban ended up finding that ball that I think it was Mitchell or Rich, one of them, on the left hand side. They made a mistake trying to pass back to the keeper. Esteban caught it and like lashed it in. It was an amazing finish. And then as soon as that goal happened, it was just a repeat process of that until another highlight of the game happened. Reece James was bombing down the flank. He did a nice cross into JP. And then Joao Pedro honestly had an easy tap in. Keeper was all the way far on the right. Could have just lashed it in top left bins. Instead, he hit, I think it was, what was the player's name? Let me see, Canbot, yeah. All he had to do was just get past him, somehow shoots it at his hand, misses the net. So yeah, we had a lot of poor players today. Honestly, I'm not going to rate Joao Pedro, Neto, and Badiashile this high today. They weren't all that good. But we somehow got a dodgy pen from that. Do I see it as a pen? No. The only reason why it was given as a pen was because, again, it was a clear goal. Joao Pedro decided to shoot at his hand. And then it continued like that until Wharton got the red. And then we got another goal from, we got another goal. No, sorry, that was the pen at the end. But we ended up getting a Wharton red for a disgusting tackle he made on Caicedo. And another highlight of the game was Pedro Neto. Oh my god, stinker game of his. Again, I've tried my best to, hype up Pedro Neto, especially that purple patch form he had in the beginning, where he was like bagging goals and assists consistently. Until that wore off, and now we just seen he's nothing without the goals or the assists. Should have got a red today, honestly, with that disgusting step he made on Sar, was it? Should have been a red, but he walked off with that. Honestly, would have benefited Chelsea if he got the red there. But yeah, overall quiet game. Rosenior ball's been looking very, very nice. We walked through with the easy 3 points until we conceded that random last-minute goal, which was again optional defending by a lot of players, but we just move on from that.
Yeah, I watched most of this game and it felt like, it was kind of even at the start of the game up until the Estevao goal. And again, a big defensive issue from the left-hand side of Palace. Again, I don't know what they were doing. They kind of just played through ball to Estevao. I do feel like Estevao is one of those players that's really clinical and he takes the chances when he gets it. And we've seen a similar chance to that, like last season with Jackson. We kind of had like heavy touches and kind of like just sent it to the keeper. But again, Estevao was really clinical. He had a couple of really good touches and got close to the keeper, and another great finish from him. But yeah, I do feel like he's a difference maker, and we've seen how inconsistent Chelsea wingers have been this season. Players like Neto, Garnacho, and Bino Gittins. And it feels like Estevao is one of those players that's been always consistent, and he deserves to start more games. But again, yeah, he got the chance today. He got a goal and assist, and yeah, credit to him. But again, yeah, 1-0 up at halftime. I don't feel like Chelsea were too positive. I feel like, again, playing away to Palace is not really like the easiest fixture, even though they're in poor form. But I feel like that second half, you guys start to pick up and start to get those goals. And the Joao Pedro goal, credit to him, a pretty decent goal. I feel like, again, Palace were pretty weak defensively, but Joao Pedro did really well to kind of dribble past a couple players and then a good finish into the net. And at that point, I felt like, this game was confirmed for Chelsea to win because Palace were not really looking that good. And then that also, you mentioned that Enzo Fernandez pen, I feel like that was a bit soft. I feel like, again, Joao Pedro missed that chance, but like that penalty in general was kind of soft to give from the referee. But Fernandez was on my FPL, so I was glad to have him score that penalty. So yeah, credit to him. I feel like, again, he's one of those players that in the absence of Palmer, he can make a difference at like the camp position. And he's been doing well since Palmer's injury absence. And also with the Palmer situation, I feel like he's been injured for quite a while, and there's been injuries consistently with him. And I feel like I think credit to Rosenior. I feel like he's not rushing him back and kind of risking Palmer getting injured again. I feel like he's being smart with Palmer and kind of letting him just fully recover. And then when he's fully ready, he can slowly be integrated back into the team. But again, the overall result for Chelsea, I feel like it's important to win a game like this. We've known them to drop points against Palace in the past, but again, 2 wins back to back. I feel like they are picking up form, and they could start picking up form to go to the top 4, top 3 in the league. And let's see what happens with the Chelsea situation. But what are your thoughts, Brajesh, on this overall game?
Yeah, so this game, I didn't really watch this game, but just as a result, Chelsea got what seems like a pretty good win against Palace, who I guess Palace kind of fell off because at the first 2 months of the season, Palace were a pretty strong team, and they were even like top five at a point of the season, or even higher. And there's a lot of good players that are in form, but then recently they've lost players like and they've lost Gahey in the winter to City. So as that was definitely a huge loss, and I just don't think they've been performing as well. And even Glazer announced that he's going to leave. So yeah, I think this win for Chelsea is probably pretty huge because I think recently Chelsea have had some pretty like I guess choppy like results, and they also want the UCL position for next season. So yeah, they have to they have to compete, right? So they're fifth right now under United. So they're trying to get wins to just get the top four. So that's what's like their main focus. And yeah, the win today definitely helped them get that. So yeah.
Yeah, any other final thoughts about this game and your future, hit them?
Yeah, I noticed you were mentioning the Enzo statement on Cole Palmer. Honestly, I've always had this thought for a while now. Like even during the Barcelona game, Palmer, when he picked up that groin injury, I think it was just before. I think it was just at the United game. I thought it was weird on the medical staff, to not let him get that surgery for his groin, considering it was like a reoccurring issue over and over again. And now seeing how much it's affecting him, I do think honestly we have to blame the medical squad here a lot, as it's really, really going to affect his chance at the World Cup. Because even now, he just got another thigh issue before the game, and he's probably, maybe, if not going to play that Napoli game as well, and might miss out on the West Ham game too. So I'm saying, honestly, it's not looking too good for Cole Palmer, along with all those links that are happening online with him at Manchester United, which, by the way, is false. Not going to happen. But it's just overall adding pressure to Palmer day in, day out. I don't think we're going to see the same Palmer as we saw previously, but maybe he comes back.
Yeah, and I feel like we can move on to like the other big teams in the Premier League. I feel like other teams did really take their chance today because Arsenal obviously dropped their points, and teams like City and Villa took their chance. So let's move on to the City game, where they won 2-0 against Wolves. Obviously, going to that game, I think we all expected City to win that game because even though Wolves were kind of picking a form themselves, it just felt like City were going to be too strong. And even before the game, there was rumors about like City, like Haaland not starting for City because Pep was saying like he was fatigued and too tired, and that actually ended up happening. So Marmoush started this game and he actually scored a really early goal. And I feel like, yeah, overall City, they had Gahey in this game start, and I feel like he made an instant impact and he made a big difference for City. We've seen a player like Elaine start, a youngster. I feel like he wasn't really ready for that, and Gahey just brought a lot of solidity to City's defense that they've been missing in the recent weeks. So, I mean, credit to him as well. I think Pep, having Gahey and Semenyo right away from the January window, I think they're going to make a huge difference to City's overall season and how they end up in the league. But I mean, yeah, that first Marmoush goal, I think it was a well-taken goal. Again, with the absence of Haaland, I think he's been stepping in, and we've seen him not get really a lot of big chances under Pep because, Pep just really doesn't really rotate his players once he gets the strongest lineup. And it just felt like, Marmoush was kind of rotting on the bench at times. And he also had like a pretty good AFCON with Egypt. So I think coming back, I think he was kind of hoping to start more games with Pep. And I think he had a pretty good game today. That day, and also we saw the second Semenyo goal. I think Semenyo can actually turn out to be really dangerous again with under Pep. We've seen Pep turn players like him really dangerous. And we've seen Semenyo as a raw goal scorer. Like he has that shooting on lock, and I think under Pep he could actually prosper to be one of the best players in the Premier League. But let's see what happens with that situation. Again, he scored that goal, another really good finish from him. And he also had that one crazy crossbar chance where, again, so much power in that shot and unlucky to not go in. But credit to City this game, I think, keeping a clean sheet, especially with Gahey starting. And, just overall the game, I think it was really good from them. What were your thoughts, Prajesh?
Yeah, so this City result, I didn't really watch the game, but yeah, talking about Haaland, because, recently, in recent form, Haaland hasn't been as good because he hasn't been scoring, and that's like the main impact that he has is just scoring the goals. Even though his presence is like a threat enough, I thought he's most effective when he's scoring. That's like the striker's job. So yeah, when he wasn't scoring, he wasn't playing well, and I think like him not scoring definitely led to City not getting the results. We mentioned the Bodo Glimt performance in the UCL where City got embarrassed. They got outplayed by Bodo Glimt, and it was a pretty big upset. And then also just in the league, City have been drawing a lot. They even lost. They also lost to United, where Holland wasn't that good, and yeah, so their form in the Prem wasn't that good. So the rest was definitely needed, and Marmoush steps in and he gets the goal. And I think Swolves aren't that strong of a side. I mean, they have been getting some draws, but they're not really strong side. So I think I expected City to get this win. Because City and Pep definitely are trying to find a way to make a comeback in the season. And I believe Pep mentioned something about how he found the answer to following that. So yeah, it was kind of. I think I expected that. I expected City to win the game, and I guess I'm surprised that I didn't see Cherokee make any real impact. I feel like Cherokee, he's very he's definitely very talented, and I feel like he can definitely be a player who can be super crucial for City because I think with KDB leaving, I think City can definitely benefit from a midfielder with that kind of creativity and super good at passing. So I feel like when Cherokee as the season progresses, I think he'll become more important to City. And I think when Holland gets back in form, I think him and Cherokee and even players like Semenyo, Bowden, if they can slowly start to improve, I think it'll give City such a strong run going to the rest of the season. So I feel like it depends more on the players, how they perform, because I mean City already reinforced their squad pretty high. They have Gehi replace the injuries of Guardiola and Ruben Diaz was injured, and then Semenyo, obviously he is one of the best players in the Prem in the first half of the season, and they just got him, so I'm sure he'll have a huge impact as well. So I think City's squad is looking very strong.
Yeah, with City, I think you mentioned their depth is really strong, and hopefully they start picking up form because this does look like it's going to be Pep's last season with City, and obviously they're going to want to win it with him, and the board is really backing him with as we mentioned so many times, signing Semenyo and Gehi in one window is pretty crazy, and it does look like they're already making a difference right away. And yeah, you mentioned Cherokee. I mean, obviously he's so talented. I mean, this is the first season in the Prem. He's going to struggle a bit, but I do feel like even with his inconsistencies, he's just one of those players that give him 5 minutes, he can make an instant impact and he can make that big change. We've seen him have crazy performances, especially against Sunderland, who are known to be a good defensive team. And obviously Pep trusts him and rates him a lot. So I do think players like Cherokee, Semenyo, and Foden and stuff are going to be really good for Pep. I think going forward in the season, they are going to be crucial difference makers. But I do feel like they do need to step up along with Haaland, because we've seen if Haaland's not scoring goals at his best form, it feels like City really struggle to score goals in general and do well in games. So yeah, I mean overall, I feel like the whole squad for them needs to really improve. But hopefully they do start improving, because as we mentioned, we do want to see either them. I do want to see either them or another team win the Premier League instead of Arsenal. But let's move on to the other contenders for the Premier League at the moment. So let's move on to Villa, who had a really, really big win against Newcastle. 2-0 away at St. James Park is not really easy to do. We've seen Barca also play there early in the season, and it's a really crazy atmosphere in that stadium, and a lot of the fans really back their players a lot. But yeah, I mean, looking at this game, I don't really watch it too much, but again, I just feel like Newcastle's attack at the moment is really really, really poor. I feel like Gordon has been honestly so disappointing in the Premier League. I feel like in the Champions League he's actually been good, but the Premier League it's a whole different story. We saw obviously he's been a new signing for them, and I feel like he's also been pretty good. But this game I don't think he did really too much. And obviously with him and Voldemort, it feels like Newcastle will have two big options to start at striker, and it's going to be interesting to see who they end up being their first choice striker throughout the season. And obviously Harvey Barnes, I feel like he's also a decent little player, but again, just not consistent enough for them in general. And obviously the biggest, I think, strength for Newcastle is their midfield and defense. We've seen players like Joe Linton, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes, who's actually missing this game due to injury. I feel like the absence of Bruno Guimaraes is actually really big, and we've seen how crucial he's been, the club captain for Newcastle. And I think he's been the real difference maker in recent weeks, and having him absent for this big game was really a big miss for them. And obviously with their defense, I think it's really strong, but again, I think Villa is just one of the strongest teams in the Prem at the moment. I feel like under Emery, they have a really solid system, and players like Rodgers and Watkins are just showing up at the right moment of the season. I think also Emi Martinez had a really good game, and I think he's also been crucial at moments to save Aston Villa at times, and also Bundy as also like he's got a couple of late winners, and even today he scored a big goal, a crazy goal in fact because it was a banger. So credit to him as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Brajesh?
Are we asking?
Like just the overall Villa win, winning 2-0 away at St
Oh.
James Park.
Yeah, so I thought Villa and their like form recently. I mean, they did have some bad performances like versus Arsenal, but I think overall they've had such a strong run and they have some good players. I mean, I think for me one of the key players that stand out. I mean, people mention like Rogers and stuff, but I think Kellerman's actually been pretty crucial for Villa, and I think we all saw like that that whole Europa League clip with him and Emery, Emery like Emery pushing him, which it was a bit strange, but yeah yeah, I think Newcastle's a pretty strong team, and obviously they're missing Bruno Guimaraes, but I think it's definitely a pretty. I think like both teams are pretty solid, so I think it could have went either way. But I thought Villa would have won it. I think Villa are still a strong team and they want to compete for the title, and they're like 4 points behind Arsenal now. So yeah, I think they had a good performance. I think it's an impressive win from Villa. I think Newcastle are a pretty strong, pretty hard opponent because they have a good manager. They have some great players. So yeah, it's a pretty good win from Villa. He mentioned both the goals. They're pretty good goals. So yeah, I just think Villa. I think Villa can make a strong run for the title. So I think that's what they're trying to go for right now and get a pretty strong result in the Europa League.
Yeah, let's move on to another top six team. Liverpool again, a really disappointing loss to Bournemouth, and obviously they're playing away, but still you expect Liverpool to at least win this game because they've really dropped a lot of points throughout the season, and it feels like if they didn't win this game, it would really cost them. And early in the game, they were 2-0 down, and honestly shocking to see because Evan Nielsen, again, he's been clutch for Bournemouth. Also, Jimenez scored. I think he's also been really good for them in general. But again, 2-0 down to Bournemouth and going into the game. Early in the game, I feel like that's really disappointing to see from Liverpool's kind of side of view because we've seen. I think the main issue for Liverpool is actually their overall system because honestly, it's a crazy stat. Whenever Gakpo started, like Liverpool have dropped points. So I don't know if it's a Gakpo issue or something. And a lot of Liverpool fans are criticizing Gakpo and Slot for always just starting him for no reason. So I mean, let's see what happens with that. But yeah, I think the main issue for Liverpool is their defense because Konate was actually like not missing this game. He was away. Like, he couldn't make it, and obviously Gomez got injured early in the game. So Endo came on and like center back. So I think again defensively they were very weak, and also their attacking wing backs basically they're really like vulnerable defensively with Frimpong and Kirkes. Were both just so attacking minded, and I feel like that cost them at times. And yeah, just then Van Dijk gets his goal before halftime, and at that point it just feels like Liverpool still have like a bit of hope to come back. And in the 80th minute, we see Szoboszlai get his free kick goal again. I feel like Szoboszlai with free kicks, he's been so crazy, and he's also been one of those standout players along with Ekitike, who didn't really play much this game. But I think Szoboszlai is honestly a contender for Liverpool's player of the season so far, and I feel like he's been like the shining light for them at times. But again, Liverpool get Bournemouth get the late winner, and they end up winning this game. So big, I guess, result for them. Honestly, yeah, we've seen them drop really low in the table, and they at the start of the season they were doing really well, and they started to really drop off. But I feel like if they start picking up form, they could actually push up the table. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this overall Liverpool result, Prajesh?
Yeah, it was also a crazy game. I mean, kind of similar to the game we talked about today about the United Arsenal. I mean, same result and same kind of fashion where it was like a last late minute like winner. And honestly, it's kind of nice seeing Liverpool lose in these fashions where they're getting the last minute seeds because you've seen last season even like the start of this season where they were getting last minute winners and like kind of getting bailed out from like scrappy performances and wins. So and like Liverpool downfall, honestly, it feels kind of cool because not many people like Liverpool. But yeah, honestly, crazy result. I mean, Bournemouth also, like I said, like, they lost Semenyo, and they're also not in good form either. They're kind of like Palace, where they had a great start and then they kind of fell off. So yeah, it was a huge result from them. I mean, I think I saw a stat that the Bournemouth Twitter account posted that they had the most goals scored after City and Arsenal, I believe, something like that, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good performance from Bournemouth to get the win over Liverpool, who, even though Liverpool have been kind of inconsistent, I think they're still a pretty strong team. They're not easy, obviously, to go against. They have some pretty good players. And yeah, very impressive. I think, I think it just proves more that, Liverpool, they can easily lose games. They've lost a lot of games throughout the season where, it was very close games. So yeah, props to Bournemouth. I think it was a pretty good win on their end.
Yeah, I think with Liverpool, it really doesn't look like they're gonna really compete for a top five position. I mean, obviously they are, but I don't feel like they're gonna really compete for those high positions because they've been so inconsistent. But I mean, yeah, let's move on to other couple fixtures that we seen this week. West Ham getting a big win against Sunderland. I mean, that's really shocking to see because we've seen Sunderland be like a really solid team defensively, and they could have actually lost this game 4-1. I think one goal was ruled out at the end, but I think yeah, again a big win for West Ham. They got back-to-back wins now. Obviously against Spurs last week and now against Sunderland. So I feel like their hopes to escape relegation aren't fully over yet. But again, they are going to have to be much more consistent. They are playing Chelsea next, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I mean, yeah, Bowen getting a goal and assist this game. He's been one of the biggest players for West Ham, and I feel like he's one of their honestly legends for them at this point because he sticked at that club for so long and been so crucial for them. But again, yeah, just credit to West Ham. I feel like they did really well to win this game. And moving on to what's the other results? Oh yeah, Brentford losing 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. Obviously, this was played at Brentford Stadium, so losing at home 2-0 against Forest, who've also been pretty poor this season. They're only 17th right now. They're really close to relegation. So, I mean, yeah, losing to Forest in this fashion is really disappointing to see for them. Obviously, a player like Thiago, who's been in such good form, like he couldn't score this game, and I think Gibbs White, Igor Jesus, and Elliot Anderson honestly have been like carrying this team, the Forest team. I think Anderson honestly is one of the most underrated players in the Prem because he really controls the game for Forest, and it feels like defensively he's also really solid. He's in like that Wharton and Garner kind of category, and I feel like he's gonna get a big move to a big team really soon. A team like a City or like United or something like that who needs a midfielder like him. I could also see him like Rogue Shot could be like a Madrid where they need like a passer, they need a big controller in the team, something like that. I think he could get a big move soon. But again, yeah, what are your thoughts on those two games, Bijash?
Wait, the Brentford game, what game again? Oh, the
West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah, so I'll start with the Brentford game. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't really watch it, but again, like I think Brentford have some like strong like strings of like results. I think they're a strong team. They have some good players and they have some good results as well. Like I mean, Igor Thiago's have been having such a good season. Even though he scored a lot of pen goals, I think he's a good striker. He had a hat trick. I forgot what game, but recently he got a hat trick, and he also got I believe a brace recently, something like that. And yeah, he's been one of the best strikers in the Prem this season, and I believe he even broke the record for like the most goals a Brazilian has scored in the Prem. Hats off to him, right? And then Brentford also have other strong players. I mean, Kevin Sade is definitely one of them. I know like Lewis Potter is also one of them. I heard Collins also been good. So yeah, Brentford has some good players, and I mean with Forest, I think Forest haven't been too great this season. Like you mentioned with Anderson, he's definitely been one of the stand-up players for Forest. He's been their best player. He's like definitely one of their best players, and he's been probably one of the best midfielders in the Prem. Honestly, I feel like he does so much, and he's a bit underrated. People don't really mention him, but I think he can definitely start for the England squad in the World Cup. So I think he's an amazing player to, just watch. I think he does everything. He's he controls and he's good defensively. So yeah, I think he's definitely a very good player. And Forest also have players like Gibbs White, who's good, and he got an assist today, I believe. So yeah, I think it's a good result from Forest, and I mean they're still kind of like in the like bit of the relegation zone, so can't really see too much. And most of the time they don't really get the results, but I mean against Brentford, who have been in the top half of the table, I mean it's definitely impressive. And for the West Ham game, so yeah, Sunderland are a team that also thought have been pretty decent in the Prem so far. They've had some pretty big performances. I think a lot of people predicted them to get relegated when the season started because most of the time the teams that get promoted get relegated soon after. So it's actually surprising to see Sunderland to have this season. But today they lost to West Ham, and Xhaka didn't play today. I believe he was injured, but just to mention Xhaka just a quick bit. I think he's been such a good midfielder for Sunderland, probably their best player. And he's in that category of like, I feel like he's also in the category like the Whartons, the Andersons, like those types of midfielders. I think he's been very good, one of the better midfielders in the Prem as well. So yeah, and I mean West Ham recently have been getting the results, so credit to West Ham. I mean they're also in the relegation zone like Forest. They're actually, I believe they're like third last team actually, so they're in relegation right now, I believe. So yeah. So yeah, I mean West Ham do have some like strong players. I mean Bowen, even though he scored just a pen, I mean he also got an assist, but I think Bowen's definitely one of the like the more well-known West Ham players and one of the stronger ones. And Somerville also got a goal, and I think with Somerville, I mean before he was at, I believe he was at Leeds, I believe.
Leeds, yeah.
And yeah, he was also had like a lot of talent, a lot of promise, and I thought he was going to Chelsea or something, but yeah, he went to West Ham. I thought he would do well at West Ham. I don't think he's been too impressive honestly, but you got the goal, and I think he's had some good goals for West Ham. So yeah, I guess credit to West Ham. I mean, they want to fight for not getting relegated, obviously. They have Nuno, who I think he's a solid manager. Honestly, I mean he's an ex-Forest manager. He had some some like, I guess tension with the owner that led to him getting sacked. And yeah, I think I even saw a clip today in the West Ham game where I forgot who exactly it was. I don't know if it's like the assistant manager or something, but Nuno wanted to bring on this West Ham player, and I think the guy refused to bring him on. I'm not honestly too sure what the deal was there, but I feel like at the same time, a lot of the managers in the Prem, a lot of them kind of get controlled by a third party or like a different like someone like a bit higher up or something like that kind of limits what they want to do, which that can be pretty bad because I think it's best to let managers kind of decide what they want, how they want to use the team and like the players and like all that. Having someone else kind of factor that in, I think kind of ruins their plans. So yeah, just a quick thought about that because I think it was kind of sad to see, honestly.
Yeah, moving on to our last two fixtures so far in the game week. We're not going to talk about Everton as much because that game hasn't happened yet, but we might predict it later on in the video. But let's go to Fulham versus Brighton, where Fulham won 2-1. And again, this game was played at Craven Cottage, and I expected Fulham to win this game, but early on in the game, Brighton got the early lead, and it seemed like at that point Brighton would either get the win or maybe even draw. I predicted a draw, but Fulham ended up winning. And again, two players that have been clutch for Fulham this season, Chukwueze came off the bench and scored, and Wilson. We have to talk about Wilson for a second because I think he's stepped up so much this season, and obviously he's like a Liverpool academy player, but since leaving them, I think he joined Fulham, and this season specifically, like he's stepped up so much and showed how much of a classy player he can be. And I think there was a stat like he scored 8 Premier League goals this season, but his overall XG for those goals is only like 0.82 or something like that. So I mean, his goals are just like pure class, and he almost creates it out of nothing. So credit to him. Again, he scores a free kick today, so I think he's been really carrying Fulham this season. But yeah, I think in the table right now they are at 7. So again, they have been having really like good form this overall season, and they are playing United next. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that because I feel like recently both teams have been doing pretty well. So I mean, let's see what happens with that result. And yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole game, Brajesh?
Yeah, with Fulham, I think Fulham recently have been honestly a good team. I think I mentioned just like outside the podcast side, I think that Fulham have been a team that are slowly creeping up, and yeah, I mean they got the win for Brighton, who I think Brighton have been like kind of like a mid, like kind of average team. Honestly, I don't think or below average. Honestly, I don't think they're honestly too impressive. But yeah, I think it's a good win from Fulham. I mean, it brings them up the table, and I think they're having kind of a sleeper season. Like they're kind of like a sleeper team, honestly. I think a lot of people don't really talk about Fulham or know how well they're doing, but they're definitely been pretty decent. And there also news recently where Adama left to he got signed for West Ham, right? So yeah, Adama's gone. But honestly, I think Fulham are one of the best players in the Prem right now, Wilson. I think Harry Wilson, especially recently, he's been super good. He's been getting a lot of output, and he's such a good player, honestly. So I think they definitely they have some good players as well. Jimenez also the strikers good. I think Anderson and Robinson are two good defenders as well. So I think Fulham are kind of like a sleeper team. I think people don't really talk about them, but yeah, I think they've been solid recently, honestly.
Yeah, and then let's move on to the last fixture of the Premier League that's happened so far. Tottenham drawing this Burnley 2-2. And honestly, like we mentioned last time, like Spurs are just crazy inconsistent. Like they lost to West Ham, then they went on to the Champions League and they beat Dortmund 2-0 convincingly. And then they come back to the Premier League and then they draw 2-2. So, I mean, honestly, it's just been so inconsistent with them. You never know what you can get with them. And honestly, they looked like they were going to lose this game, but Romero coming really in clutch for them. And it's crazy to see that both their defenders, the center backs, scoring for them in this game. Van der Ven and Romero scoring crucial goals for them. And I feel like again with their attack, it's just been so inconsistent. I feel like Odegaard's been pretty like good since he's getting integrated into the starting lineup, but other than that, like every other player has been really disappointing to see, and just being dependent on like players like Romero and Van de Ven to score your goals, just kind of silly to see. And I mean, with this season for Spurs, I really don't see them doing well. Honestly, I feel like they aren't going to finish maybe even in the top half. I feel like they could push for like a 12th place position or like 11th or something like that. But yeah, again, they're again really creeping close to like the relegation spot. So honestly, if they start dropping a couple more points, they're playing City next, and their fixtures don't look too good. So I mean, you never know what could happen with them. And recently there is a lot of outbursts with Spurs fans like wanting Thomas Frank out, and they want a new manager, kind of like what happened with Amram and Carrick. So let's see what happens with that situation. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this game overall.
So Spurs are an interesting team. I mean, in the UCL they're fourth right now, and honestly surprising because I feel like they don't play that beautiful football, and I feel like they're kind of inconsistent. And I mean, some of the players I feel like underperform. But in the Prem, they haven't been good at all. And I mean, drawing to Burnley, who have been the second worst team in the league, is obviously a pretty disappointing result. I mean, I know United also drew, but then United also got a win versus Arsenal and City, so it's not the same, I feel. And yeah, like I said with Spurs, there's a lot of I guess tension in the fan base because people want Frank out. They want a change because they're not satisfied with what's going on in the games. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance that Spurs can get relegated. I mean, the fixtures they have upcoming are obviously pretty tough. So if they can't get the results, then they can easily fall behind. While other teams like West Ham, who are currently on a streak of wins, Forest are kind of just came off a win. Teams are getting results, so they can easily fall behind. So I guess with Spurs, I mean, I don't know what breaking point it will be for them to sack Frank, because I feel like the UCL performances honestly aren't convincing enough to warrant him staying. Especially because the Prem, I feel like Spurs aren't a favorite to win the UCL, so it would probably be better in their interest to have a manager who can do better in the Prem and solid in the UCL, rather than someone like Frank who can maybe do something good in the UCL but not good at all in the Prem, because I feel there's a lot of better teams in the UCL. So as for Spurs, I feel like they shouldn't get their hopes on that, but they should focus on staying in the Prem instead of getting relegated. And I just want to ask, because you're a Spurs you'll say you're a fan, but I feel like you're a bit of a fan, you're a representative for the Spurs club. So I just want to ask what point do you think Spurs will actually decide on getting Thomas Frank out? Because I feel like right now it's not really looking that good, because I mean, even though the UCL Spurs are fourth, I feel like the Prem is where where Spurs play the most, and the results have been good. So it's what point will Spurs probably get some change, because the football hasn't been that great either.
Again, I just want to clear it up. I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm a Barca fan, but yeah, Spurs. I do enjoy in their prime. I do enjoy Spurs ball. When they had Kane and Son, but again, I feel like with the Frank question, I mean, I think it could be really, really soon. Honestly, we've seen, even though they've been really good in the Champions League, I feel like that's a part because partly because they've had pretty easy fixtures in general. I feel like their next fixture against Frankfurt, if they lose that, who for against Frankfurt, who have been actually really poor in recent form. I feel like if they lose that game, honestly, I could see Frank being sacked there and then. But again, I feel like again, if they win the Champions League, there's gonna be slight hope. But they are playing City, United, Newcastle, Arsenal in their next four Premier League fixtures. So if they lose all those fixtures, honestly, they could get like things can go really, really bad for them. So I could see Frank getting like sacked really soon. But again, we mentioned this before in the podcast. Like I don't really know who could come in for him, a really like reliable person to come in. I think honestly, like, for them, the best situation would be like someone like a Carrick coming in and getting those big results instantly and making a big difference. But I mean, what can I say? Like, it's not really looking good for Spurs. But I mean, if they don't win these next couple of fixtures, at least a couple of them, it could really look like they could get relegated soon. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this game. I mean, before we wrap it up, let's talk about quickly like the upcoming game, Everton versus Leeds. Obviously, hasn't happened yet, but I mean, predictions. I've honestly rated Everton's defense really high. I think Tarkowski has been really good for them. Pickford, obviously, a really good keeper for them, and their midfield, Garner. I feel like he's also, I think I mentioned before, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. I think again he's similar to like Anderson, who's been controlling just games for his respective team, and I think yeah he's been doing really well. And obviously Iliman and Jai is back for this game as well, so I do see Everton winning this game. Hopefully they keep a clean sheet. I feel like you can't underestimate Leeds because I think Leeds have also been really surprising this season. They've been doing well, and I think players like Calvert-Lewin and Anton Stack has been really good for them as well. So you can never rule them out, but I do feel like Everton could win this game. I'm going to go with a 2-0 prediction for this game.
Yeah, I think so. Everton are pretty a pretty solid team in the Prem so far. I mean they win this game. They go, I believe, 7th above Fulham, Fulham. So yeah, I mean they're a strong team. I think that's some good players as well. I mean, you mentioned, I think their defense is actually pretty good. I mean, Tarkowski is very good, and I'm not sure if Keane is back for this game, but Keane is a good defender as well. And they have players like Garner as well is good. NDI, who's good. He's just injured, I believe. Beto, who can get some goals, or they're better, right? I believe. So, yeah. And Leeds on the other side, I think Leeds are, they haven't been too good, but they sometimes get some good performances. So they're not like some easy team. Honestly, I think they can be difficult at times. Daniel Farke has done good and getting some important results and trying to get them this year just above the relegation zone. So yeah, I think Everton get the win, but I honestly think that it'll be a pretty close game. I think maybe like a 2-1 win for Everton. Hopefully Everton concede, honestly, because I know a lot of people in the FPL have Everton players and defenders. Also, I forgot to mention Pickford, who I think Pickford's been one of the best keepers in the Prem. So yeah, Everton have a pretty solid team. So they're not honestly a team to underestimate. But yeah, I think they're better than Leeds, so I think they'll get the win.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up our Premier League segment for this season. For this game week. There you have it. I mean, Manchester United 3, Arsenal 2, that's the biggest game this week. And it's just interesting to see a big shock that United won this game not convincingly, but I think they really stood strong and ended up getting the win with this game. But let us know, do you think this is a turning point in the title race? Do you see Arsenal actually starting to drop more points and a team like City or Villa kind of catching up to them and going in first place? And what do you also think about Michael Carrick's period so far, his tenure, winning 2 big games right away and making a big difference for United? But yeah, let us know your thoughts on everything this week and let us know if you enjoyed this. But yeah, so make sure to subscribe to DB Talks, follow us on all our socials, and let us know if you want to see anything else. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.